Imagine the world at the height of a global conflict that had already lasted nearly 6 years. The war in Europe had ended, but the struggle in the Pacific against Japan continued with relentless ferocity. Amid exhaustion and uncertainty, humanity yearned for peace. It was in this context that, on August 6, 1945, a vibrant and lively city in Japan woke up like any other morning. But what happened next would change not only the fate of the war, but also the course of human history. A single plane, releasing a single bomb, would unleash unimaginable power, marking the beginning of a new and complex era. Today, with the seriousness and respect this subject demands, we will recount the story of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, the first use of a nuclear weapon in combat. Our goal is not to glorify war, but rather to understand the context, the facts, and the profound legacy of this event. We will explore the complex decision-making that led to that day, the human experience of the tragedy, and the lessons that, as a humanity, we are compelled to carry forward. To understand what happened in Hiroshima, we need to go back in time to mid-1945. The war in Europe had ended with Germany's surrender, but the conflict in the Pacific against Japan was intensifying. Japan demonstrated determined resistance, using tactics such as kamikaze pilot suicide attacks, which caused significant casualties among Allied forces. Battles like Okinawa had resulted in hundreds of thousands of casualties on both sides, and projections for a possible land invasion of Japan, known as Operation Downfall, were terrifying. Estimates from American military officials predicted millions of deaths, including both Allied troops and Japanese civilians. The pressure for an alternative that could end the war more quickly and with fewer casualties was immense. Meanwhile, in total secrecy, an ambitious and unprecedented project was underway in the United States, the Manhattan Project, a colossal effort that brought together some of the greatest scientists of the time, including names like J. Robert Oppenheimer. Their goal was to develop a weapon based on atomic fission. The tension was palpable among the scientists, who understood the power they were about to unleash. The project culminated in the success of the Trinity test in July 1945 in the New Mexico desert, which confirmed the devastating power of the atomic bomb and sealed the weapon's fate. The news of the test's success reached U.S. President Harry S. Truman, who was attending the Potsdam Conference. Faced with the prospect of a prolonged war and alarming casualty estimates, Truman made one of the most complex and debated decisions in history, authorizing the use of the atomic bomb to force Japan's surrender. The interim committee, composed of scientists and politicians, had recommended its use, but the decision was made under immense pressure, with the stated intention of ending the conflict quickly and, paradoxically, saving lives that would have been lost in a prolonged invasion. The debate over the morality and necessity of this decision continues to this day. The city of Hiroshima was an important military and industrial center, but it was also a vibrant home to hundreds of thousands of civilians. On the morning of August 6, 1945, the day began normally. People walked to work, children to school, unaware of what was to come. At 8:15 a.m. local time, the city's peace was shattered. At an altitude of 9,450 meters, the American B-29 bomber, named Enola Gay, released the atomic bomb, codenamed Little Boy. The bomb fell for 43 seconds before detonating approximately 600 meters above the ground, directly over the center of the city. What followed was an unprecedented display of destructive power in human history. A blinding flash, brighter than the sun, tore through the sky. The temperature at the epicenter of the explosion reached thousands of degrees Celsius, instantly vaporizing everything in its path and leaving only shadows imprinted on stones. Within seconds, a crushing shockwave spread for kilometers, flattening buildings and disintegrating wooden structures. The shockwave was followed by a destructive blast of wind. The explosion created the image that would become the symbol of the atomic age, a gigantic mushroom cloud rising kilometers into the sky, visible from dozens of kilometers away. Much of Hiroshima, simply put, ceased to exist. The scale of the tragedy was indescribable. A vast area of the city was transformed into smoldering ruins. Thousands of people died instantly, and many others succumbed to serious injuries in the days and weeks that followed. The suffering of the survivors, who faced severe burns, grave injuries, and the total devastation of their lives, remains a painful chapter in history. Amid the desolation, people were disoriented and in shock, unable to comprehend what had happened. Beyond the visible destruction, the bomb brought a new and terrible consequence: radiation. Thousands of people who survived the initial impact suffered from radiation sickness, an invisible, silent, and deadly aftermath that continued to claim lives long after the event. Because of this, the atomic bomb is a weapon unlike any other, with a lasting and cruel impact. 3 days later, on August 9, a second atomic bomb was dropped on the city of Nagasaki. On August 15, 1945, Japan announced its surrender, officially ending World War II. History shows us that, while the intention was to end the conflict, the way it happened raised ethical and moral questions that resonate to this day. For the first time, humanity demonstrated the ability to self-destruct on a massive scale, and the nuclear age had begun. However, the story of Hiroshima is not just about destruction. It is also about resilience and the pursuit of peace. The survivors, known as Hibakusha, dedicated their lives to sharing their stories and advocating for nuclear disarmament, transforming their pain into a powerful message of hope and warning, so that such a tragedy would never be repeated. The city of Hiroshima, rebuilt with dignity, is now a symbol of peace and a solemn reminder of the cost of war. The Peace Memorial Park, with its iconic dome, serves as a sanctuary for the memory of the victims and as a beacon of hope for a future without nuclear weapons. The atomic bombing of Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, was a watershed moment. It was an event that, tragically and decisively, ended the largest conflict in human history, but also opened a new chapter of uncertainties and challenges. Its story reminds us of the importance of reflecting on the choices that shape our world, the price of war, and the responsibility that comes with the power of knowledge. It is an invitation to, like the survivors of Hiroshima, dedicate our efforts to building a future of peace. If this historical reflection touched you, please click like and subscribe to the channel for more content exploring the great events of our history. And to continue your learning journey, click on the video that appears now to discover another decisive moment. Thank you for watching.